everybody except for me. That'd be awesome. All right. Good morning. I am so excited to be with you here today for our Thursday morning mentorship call. It is August 3rd, 2017. My name is Katie Kaiser, and I am out here in Oregon. Today, we are going to be talking about some really exciting things that are near and dear to my heart that are really, hopefully, going to be some game changers for you. We're going to be talking about the law of attraction and using your emotional guidance system to magnetize the results you want into your life. But before we jump into the actual content, I have a couple of updates for you. So if you don't already, make sure that you have a journal and a pen out so that you can jot some of these updates down as well as the content. As you guys know, we have our Croatia trip coming up from September 28th through October 1st. That's going to be super, super cool. I've been seeing some people in the page post that they already have their flights for that. The deadline for the deposit is this Sunday. So if you are someone who's looking at going to Europe for the Croatia trip, make sure you get your deposit in by Sunday. The second update I have for you is that on August 18th, coming up here pretty soon, the Michigan squad is going to be having a slip and slide event. They're going to be doing slip and slide kickball. I know from personal experience that when you have a slip and slide in your backyard, people come and it is super, super fun. So make sure that you snag your spot for that. There is an Eventbrite link posted in the Watabu page, or reach out to somebody in the Michigan squad if you need help doing that. Third update for you is August 20th and 21st, there's going to be an event out here in Oregon for the eclipse. You know, the path of the eclipse goes straight through Albany, Oregon, which is exactly where I live. We're going to be having a free event. There is no Eventbrite, but if you reach out to Dane or myself, we have a group chat that has started, and you are more than welcome to come. We're going to be camping, we're going to be floating the river, and we're going to be watching the eclipse and having a bonfire and a barbecue, and it's going to be awesome. Last update for you before we jump in is Santa Cruz is coming up October 19th through the 22nd. Tickets, raise a hand if you already have your ticket. Props to you all for already having your ticket. They are currently $30. Get them right now while they're hot, because the price is going to keep increasing all the way up through October. Invite all of your friends. It's going to be so fun with that adventure race. All right, so Croatia, Michigan, Oregon Eclipse event, and Santa Cruz event. With that, I am going to go ahead and dive right in. So, the law of attraction. You guys are familiar with the law of attraction. It's basically the premise that thoughts become things. There are scientists who have done studies, you guys, that have gone into depth with this. They have discovered that not only is this some like idea or principle of the universe, a law of the universe, it's the law of attraction is actually scientifically proven, because we have in our bodies electromagnetic waves that are actually produced from our bodies that scientists can read with their special tools that show what kind of energy we are vibrating outward into our environment. This is quite literally magnetizing other people, other events, and other circumstances that have that exact same frequency or that exact same wavelength out there. So raise your hand if you ever had something really, really bad happen to you in your life, and you feel really down. Maybe you're mad, maybe you're so angry, or maybe you're just kind of blue and like didn't know what to do. Okay, yeah, I'm sure we've all been there. And have you ever noticed that when like you have an experience, say maybe you wake up late, your alarm clock doesn't go off, or you press snooze too many times, like happens to me all the time. But when that one thing happens, then usually something else bad happens. Maybe you totally mess up your eyeliner when you're putting it on. Maybe when you're driving to work, you spill your coffee all over your shirt, and then your coworker or your boss tells you something that really gets under your skin. Well, this is no coincidence, you guys. This happens because we are emitting a frequency that has a low vibration at that point in time. But the opposite is also true. So raise your hand if you've ever had something like super fantastic, wow, amazing happen to you. Okay, you joined Watabu, so all of your hands should be raised, right? Okay, so once something amazing happens to you, you feel like you're floating through air. Chances are pretty good that you're going to magnetize some of those other positive events or circumstances or people into your life. Maybe someone lets you in the lane on a busy traffic day. Maybe you get a discount on or a free coffee when you go because you're just so friendly with the coffee people. And then maybe you have like a super bomb 2-on-1 exposure with one of your friends, and you just know that like they're going to be the game changer and a builder with you on your team, and you're just feeling good. That's because we attract what we are. So right now, I want you guys to ask yourself, how do you feel right now on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being I'm terrible right now. Like I have the flu, my boyfriend just broke up with me, I'm failing at Watabu, and I'm completely broke, and I'm miserable in that state. Because those events themselves don't have to be bad, but I'm miserable. Okay, 1 being miserable, 10 being euphoric. I just got back from Lake Powell. Okay, so on a scale from 1 to 10, where are you on that spectrum? Okay, our emotions serve as a guidance system. Most of us have been taught or kind of molded through society, whether that's with our parents or our teachers. I'm a teacher, so I mold these kids into thinking this too, so I'm trying to be conscious of it. But most of us are taught to act from our minds, to think logically about things, our head, follow through with the expectations, but we never really learn how to act from our hearts and how to follow our bliss and to act from what feels good. So I've been reading this book. Actually, I read it about a year ago, but I've been skimming back through it. This is called Power versus Force. It's by David Hawkins. It was recommended to me by another amazing author, Wayne Dyer. I am like a huge Wayne Dyer fan, and he always mentions David Hawkins. And so one day I was like, I have to find that book. So I found it, I read it, it's gold. So definitely look into it. But Power versus Force, the hidden detriments of human behavior, he talks about a map of consciousness. So if you have a piece of paper, this is a time where you're definitely like really write this down because it could be helpful for you later. So on the top, I want you to label this map of consciousness. And what the map of consciousness does is it kind of is your regulator or your guidance system for letting you know how are you feeling. So there's this scale from like 0 to 1,000, 0 being I feel crappy, 1,000 being I'm like an enlightened being like Buddha or somebody like that. Okay, or Jesus, or somebody. So there's this critical point on the scale of consciousness that calibrates at about 200 or 250 that's associated with integrity and courage and just kind of neutral. So 200 is kind of the neutral. Anything above that is feeling good, high frequency, positive feelings. Anything below that 200 level is feeling bad. You're magnetizing stuff that you don't want to bring into your life. So what I want you to do, I don't know if you can read all this, but I want you to draw a big arrow on the side of your paper like this. Draw a big arrow. And somewhere in the middle of the arrow, right in the middle, I want you to write neutrality. Neutrality is when you are calm, you're not angry, you're not super excited, you're just kind of neutral. And I want you to write 200. Okay, we're going to go down from there. So we're starting here in the middle at neutral. We're going to go down and talk about some of the negative emotions that you might be feeling and what those calibrate. So under neutrality, I want you to write courage or empowerment. When you have to find that courage or find that empowerment, that's at level 200. Below that, I want you to write pride, 175. Anger is 150. So as you can see, the vibrations are of the way that they're vibrating, the frequency is getting less when you move into anger. Okay, below anger, I want you to write disappointment, not following through with your desires. Feeling disappointed resonates at 125. Below feeling disappointed, we have fear. Fears are debilitating. We would all agree. And that's why you see this on the map of consciousness, that it's at 100. Okay, it gets worse. Grief. When you are feeling grief, something is awful, you just don't know what to do, you're stuck at 75. Beyond that, we have apathy. Apathy is at 50, when you just really don't care anymore. You're so upset. You're so depressed. You've gone through anger. You've gone through grief. You just don't freaking care anymore. You're apathetic. That's at 50. Below that, we have guilt. Guilt, and then we have shame. Guilt is 30 and shame is 20. And I know for me personally, when I have been in my lowest points in life, guilt and shame were the feelings that I was resonating with. Those are the things that I was hanging on to. And at that point in my life, everything around me, whether that was the people or the experiences that I was having, were all negative. I wasn't feeling good at all. Okay, but let's talk about the positive. Okay, above neutrality, where we want to actually be, because when you're at those higher levels of vibration, it makes you feel stronger. So above neutrality, we have willingness. Willingness resonates at 310. When you are willing to accept change, or you're willing to try something new, or you're willing to understand things, that is moving you in the right direction. Above that, we have acceptance. Dane talked about this yesterday on the skills call, about just really accepting everybody in our squad and celebrating who they are for what they are, and making that really beautiful. But when you accept not only yourself, but the people around you, the experiences around you, that feels better. So that makes sense, right? Okay, after acceptance, the next one above that is reasoning or understanding. When you can fully understand something, like you're no longer an unconscious incompetence, like you're like, I so get this, this is awesome. That's at 400. It makes sense, right? Above that, we have love. Love is at 500. Joy is at 540. Peace is at 600. And all the way at the top, we have enlightenment. And enlightenment, there's like a spectrum from 700 to 1,000, because you can be enlightened and then you can be really, really, really enlightened. So this is the map of consciousness. And when I was reading Power versus Force, David Hawkins did something called a strength test. Maybe you guys have heard of it before. But he had people put out their arm like this. Scientifically, he measured like how strong their arm was. And so then he brought in circumstances or actual material items and brought them next to that person, and then pushed their arm down to see if their arm would be weaker or stronger. And you're like, okay, how does an object do that? Or how does a thought do that? But they would say something like, imagine your significant other and the beautiful relationship that you guys have together. And they would push on the arm, and the arm would get stronger, because love is up there in the 500s, right? But then they would also say something like, I want you to think back to when your mom pieced out on you when you were a kid. And so you hold that thought in your mind, and they push on the arm, and the arm just goes down, because those are associated with negative feelings. And so scientists have proven this. You can look it up, find the research, do your own research on this. But scientifically, when we hold positive thoughts in our minds, or when we hold negative thoughts in our minds or in our hearts, we are acting from that space, and we are attracting more of that to us. Our bodies physically respond. And so wouldn't it just make sense that our environments and the people around us would also respond? It isn't life's events, but how one reacts to them and the attitude that one has about them that determines whether such events have a positive or negative, as an opportunity or as stress. That was David Hawkins. There are two examples. I was talking about all these negative things that could possibly be happening, but choosing to have a different attitude about it, or really positive things and choosing to have a different attitude. Let me give you an example. When Dane and I were flying home from regional after we went to Michigan in April, there was this gal in the airport as we were checking in our bags and everything, and she was trying to walk through the security thing, and the guard was like, hey ma'am, you got to take your shoes off. And she goes, I didn't have to take my shoes off in Chicago. And she's throwing this hissy about having to take her shoes off, even though everybody knows that's what you do at the airport. But she got all flustered about this. And so And we look down at her shoes. She's so flustered, and I didn't have to do this. I can't believe I have to take my shoes off. And we look down. Do you know what's on her feet, you guys? Birkenstocks. Freaking Birkenstocks. Like, you don't even have to take them off. You just walk backwards and they fall off, okay? So she was the kind of person at that point in her day, she was vibrating at a frequency below neutrality. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Well, maybe I do in a negative way, because she was resonating in a negative frequency. But what she chose to do was take this experience of having to take her shoes off, and she chose to make it negative. She could have chose to make it positive. All right, yeah, awesome, I'll take my shoes off. Have a good day. Okay? But then there's also experiences that can be negative that you can choose to experience in a positive way. Here's another example. On our way from Larry just last month, Dane and I and Brad and Kyle and Ashlyn were all going to the Grand Canyon, and Kyle and Ashlyn got a flat tire, and we're like, oh dear, here we go, here's a flat tire. But as you guys know, your vibe attracts your tribe, and everybody had just gotten back from Lake Powell, plus all of those people that I just happened to just usually be supposed to do. Kyle got on a Facebook Live, you guys, and he was like, you know, tire is no thing. This is an opportunity for us to practice patience and happiness. And Dane and Kyle did their magic, and within just a couple of minutes, we're back up on the road with the tire. And so they took something that a lot of people, their blueprint, their schema would be to fall back into, when I get a flat tire, I'm going to blow up. But choosing to stay in that high frequency allowed them to continue to have positive results. We went and enjoyed the Grand Canyon right after that and had a bomb day. So think back to where you said you were at on that scale, from 1 to 10, where are you at? Okay, and kind of look back at this map of consciousness. It doesn't have to be 1 to 10, but kind of think, where are you at right now? Because the goal is to increase that level of consciousness as much as possible, because when you're able to get yourself into that higher vibration, you start magnetizing people, events, and circumstances that align with your dreams. So to raise your frequency, to move up on the scale, it's really, really simple. Would you guys like to know how to raise your vibration? Raise your hand if you'd like to know how to raise your vibration. Okay, it's really simple. Write this down. When you increase your frequency, you increase your frequency. When you increase the frequency, you increase the frequency. Here's what I mean. Think about your dailies, you guys. When you do something every single day, you are doing that more frequently. Maybe it's going to the gym. Maybe it's having quality exposures. Okay, you have a quality presentation every day. When you increase the frequency of the times that you're doing that, you do that more often, you increase this kind of, which the results come. It kind of just makes sense, right? If you have more exposures, more people are going to want to get started, or at least be followed up with and hear more about this, and you can collect their 21 decisions that Alexis is collecting this week of notes, or this month. But when you increase the frequency, the amount of times that you do something, the results show up faster. So whether that's more conversations, that leads to more invites, that leads to more presentations, that leads to more follow-ups, that leads to more people making decisions, more people getting launched the right way, and more fun and friends and experiences and business building partners. Okay, let's say you increase the frequency in which you plug into our morning mentorship calls or our evening calls. When you increase the frequency of the times you hop on these calls, you get way more stoked, okay? Think about this when you go to the gym more. People like Dane go to the gym almost every single day, and he's the kind of person that has abs, okay? If you go to the gym one time, you don't have a very high frequency, then your frequency is real low. You're not gonna magnetize those abdominal muscles very quickly, okay? But the opposite is also true. Think about how many of you, I know myself personally, have ever had like a really crappy job. You're like, I'm not happy here. I just don't want to be here all the time. Okay, the more you think about how crappy it is, the more crap that comes your way at that job. Say you start doing things, you're like, okay, I missed a Zoom call here and there. You don't think it's that big of a deal, but then you start to lose momentum. Maybe you don't go to the gym very often. You're like, ah, it's fine this week, but then you start not getting the results that you want. And so that's exactly why when our leaders within Watabu are talking about dailies, that's why it's so important. Because as Jamie and Luke and Christian and Peter and Kenny and Lori and all of these incredible leaders within our company are talking about, if we do the right things long enough, often enough is the frequency, it is inevitable certainty that our dreams are going to manifest, because I've experienced both sides. There was a point in time when you look at that map of consciousness, I was below neutrality like all the time, and my life kind of sucked. Okay, right now is a point in my life where I'm freaking stoked. Like I'm not enlightened yet, you guys, but I'm definitely working up that ladder, because I realized this is huge. When you feel things with your heart, realize, oh my gosh, this makes me feel so good, do that more. And if something makes you feel bad, do it less. Avoid it. Don't think about it. Focus on what makes you feel good. Okay, so 2 action steps for you. Write this down and post it in the page if you're feeling brave and you're a stud. All right, number 1. What are the things that make you feel really, really good? And how can you increase the frequency in which you do those, so that you can increase the frequency in which those things magnetize into your life and or other circumstances that have that same vibration? Okay, so the first thing was, what are the things that make me feel good, and how can I increase my frequency of which I do those? And the second action step, what are the things that make me feel bad, and how can I decrease the frequency in which I do those? I'm really excited to see what you guys posted. I'm really excited to hear what your biggest takeaways are. Before I go, though, just want to let you guys know that tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific time, which means 9 p.m. Eastern time, we have our Rising Stars call with Lori Court. We have had a lot of changes and things happening over this summer. We are living a Watabu summer, and a lot of up-and-coming leaders in Watabu are starting to showcase themselves. So if this is a call that you've been on before, definitely know that it's something really, really special to be a part of. And if it's something that you haven't been on before, reach out to your upline and say, what is it going to take for me to be able to be on this Rising Stars call? Because these kinds of mentorship calls are happening weekly or daily, depending on which leadership groups you're in. The more frequently you can plug into these calls, you know that that's going to magnetize the results that you want. So definitely reach out to your leader. Plus, Lori Court hosts these calls most often on Thursdays, and she is amazing. You guys, we all know her, but her lovely heart comes through in everything she does. She's an event planner. She's a fantastic mom, but most of all, she just knows what it takes to be successful. And that I'm just really excited to tune in tonight and to see all of your beautiful faces too. But I hope you guys have an amazing day. I look forward to seeing you all very, very soon. And much love, guys.